Okay, copyright video, sailboat, boat ideas slash boat. Could this like this first one is second one is a sailboat idea, and this is sailboat or boat idea. This one is kind of like a fishing thing. Anyhow, sailboat ideas, copyrights. Eric William Cook, aka Roger Ghost Talker. Okay, solar dehydrator. Okay, this could replace a hatch in a sailboat, or get, you cut a hole in the foredeck and you stick it in there. It's like it's square looking from the top, kind of something like that. I'm not going to say any specific shape, but that makes sense that it's square or rectangular of some sort. Okay, so what you have here is a glazing coming across here. I better use a pointer. I don't have my kebab stick. I need a pointer. I'll use this thing. Okay, so there's a glazing coming across here, and underneath of that you have a reflective card that you put in there. And when you catch a fish, you fillet it, and you bring the fillets over here and you lift this up, and there's a hinge right there, and then you pull the reflective card out and you put the fillets in the tray here and you close it. Then you flip the switch and this pump turns on. Okay, you got to prime it ahead of time, and some of those aren't self-priming, but you get the pump, down below the water line. If the pump's below the water line, it'll pull up the water, and it'll just kind of, stop a little while. They can lift pretty far, and it's a circulating pump. So once it goes through it's a air to fluid heat exchanger. It goes through there. Once it gets out the other side of that, this fall will offset the lift. And circulating pumps really don't draw that much power. Okay, so unlike most dehydrators that have an intake air and an outlet air, this one just circulates. It's just closed. It's just all the air in there is trapped in the relentless heat, over time, because you have a differential here that condenses the water out, and then you have a little condensate tray down here and a condensate drain. Okay, I got this hose kind of going over the condensate tray on the side towards us here, but that would go the full length under this, which would be like a air to fluid exchanger. And I got e.g. example, like a transmission cooler, transmission oil cooler, the ones with the tube that goes this way and they got all the fins on it. So basically what's happening here is the hot air goes up and it goes across this way, and this creates a downdraft that pulls the hot air down like this, and it kind of wrings the moistures out, and then the moisture just drips into this condensate tray and runs down this tube. Okay, and then the cooler, drier air comes out the bottom, and it heats up and comes up to the top here, and then it just circulates around and around and around and around and around. The differential kind of just rips the moisture out of the fish fillets, and you put them in your boat on a shelf, and you don't need a refrigerator. Ta-da! Holy crap, no refrigeration compressor? Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, for real. Like, you can catch fish and store them away, and they'll store on the shelf because they're dried. And then you just crumble them up in your pressure cooker, dump some water in there, heat it up, and throw in some rice and potatoes or whatever the heck you want, and boom, there you go. Okay, pretty good. So it's actually kind of a way to get around a refrigeration compressor for some people. But you could dehydrate, like if you were a lake sailor, you could also like maybe pick berries on the shoreline and throw those in there and dehydrate those and bag them up, and then they keep. Anything that you dehydrate basically keeps. So it's pretty neat. It just uses, just a little 12-volt circulating pump that's not drawing much power. Okay, and it just rips the moisture out of anything, and then you can store it on the shelf. You don't need a refrigeration compressor. It's just shelf storage. Okay, so that's idea number one, copyright. If anybody sees anybody with a homemade one of these, yeah, bust them. I want their hides. Okay, now, here's the thing. Because this is going to go to a manufacturer that's going to pay me. Somebody's going to freaking pay me. I'm getting sick of this stuff. Somebody's got to freaking pay me. Okay. 2, automated backstay tensioner. Okay, now the idea here, I mean, primarily fractionals. Okay, there's some people that put backstay tensioners on mastheads. Nobody needs to understand that, and it's, if they want to put this on a masthead, that's their problem. But it's primarily for, I mean, normal people would put it on a fractional. Okay, so fractional sailboat. We have an electric linear actuator. You can get these in different sizes, you know, different amounts of power, and they use power only when they're moving, and they don't use power when they're standing still. The screw type ones, you know, there's ones out there like that, electric linear actuator. Okay, and then those wires, the power wires, go to a, you'd have different size boxes with different size drivers, you know, linear actuator driver circuits, or controller circuits, like a motor controller type circuit that controls the electric linear actuator. And then you'd have a data board that hooks up to the NEMA, and the data board would send analog to the motor controller board. But you'd have different size motor controller boards, so you'd have different size boxes, and then you'd have the same data board in all of them, and then you'd have different size motor controller boards. But that hooks up to the NEMA. I didn't spell that right today. That's what it sounds like. That's what people say it like. I think it's N-A-E-M. I don't know what the heck. That's right though, right? That's how you say it. NEMA, right? You have your network. You have your wind sensor. You have your compass, heel angle, pitch angle, hitch, peel. Those, you know, those compass boxes with the different sensors in it. Okay, and that's the only thing I can think off the network that this box would need to know. Okay, so the product is, it's this dashed line here. It's not the other sensors on the network. It's really just a box that hooks up to the network that has wires that go out to an electric linear actuator. And when the bolt pitches in the direction that the wind is blowing, if it pitches too far in that direction, this thing will go and tighten up the backstay. Get it? Pretty deluxe. Pretty deluxe. I think both these ideas are really good. If there's manufacturers that want to make this stuff, I guess I couldn't keep somebody from doing a one-off, but it'd be a heck of a thing, you know, to get it right. You know, I think that should be manufactured. I should get some money. You know, people can do a one-off of that, but it's like, you know, somebody's got to freaking pay me. I'm getting sick of this. Anyways, I think this should be manufactured where it'll fit in maybe some standard hatch thing, you know, and then somebody can put in a little skylight off to the side or something like that, or maybe just it gets cut into a foredeck, and you just set it in there, and you hook up your pump and your inlet strainer, your sea inlet strainer. You're just pumping water, you know, seawater or lake water through there, and then this goes to your, you know, your gray water petcock or whatever. Or not petcock, that's motorcycle gas tanks. I do motorcycles too. Anyways, your seacock, your outlet one, and then anyways, that's pretty, you know, I think it's relatively clear on how this stuff works. This is a automated backstay tensioner. Okay, this is a solar food dehydrator.